Welcome to the Sorry I Came Too Fast podcast, the podcast where we try to unlearn and then relearn all the messed up things we learned about sex. And I am Chris Bazemore, a.k.a. Bald Spot Poppy, and to my right, actually. I gotta learn.
We're going to teach him his directions.
Please.
I am the other co-host, comedian Will IT, and we have a special guest in the building.
Hi.
And
comedian, songstress, Sarah Garner.
And what's your Instagram?
Oh, it's Sarah Garner Meow. I know.
See, I almost said it without thinking. And Sarah Garner Meow.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, it sounds better that way. Can I record that?
Okay, all right. Sarah Garner Meow.
That's the most thug. And like
Meow.
Imagine that. You should be her hype man when she starts her rap career.
Oh my God,
nice.
please.
Nice. And so we were talking and we were learning about each other. And what we try to do here on this podcast is, we feel like we have all these broken views that we obtain from other people that are not real. So we like to ask actual people realistic questions to get a better understanding and then to teach us. So we don't just walk around with this broken knowledge, and we have a real knowledge of what people think. Mm-hmm. So we're going to ask some tough questions. One of the toughest ones that I can think of is going to be coffee or tea?
Oh, both. Always caffeinated all the time, nonstop.
Really?
That's the only thing that this is running on, to be honest.
Okay. All right. And if you were going to put a label, in which we don't believe that people should have labels, if you were going to put a label on your sexuality, what would you consider yourself?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so funny. I just talked with a friend about this and like the bullshit that is labels.
Yeah.
And I guess if I were to have to label myself, I would label myself queer.
Okay.
What is queer exactly? Because
I've
only known it to be like a slur in a way, right? People, I only heard it weaponized, and I've never quite heard someone identify as that. So for me, when I hear someone say queer, it's always like, are you insulting yourself a little bit? Like, is it jokingly, or is it like what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's so weird about it. And I think that's one of the things that I actually like love about it as a term for my sexuality, that it's somewhere. So it was a slur for so long. And I think there was a time in queer history that people kind of took it back as like, this is
as they should.
This is something that we're taking back as actually like an empowerment term. But I think it means to me, and I think it can mean something different for everybody.
For anyone,
I think that's exactly what's appealing about it, is that like, we're so obsessed with like the gender binary. We're so obsessed with the like gay straight binary. And I've always felt, and as I learn more about it, I felt I fall somewhere like in the middle. Like when I first started questioning my sexuality, I would tell people like, I'm not gay, but I'm not straight either. And like,
that would be hetero flex.
And so for me, like the thing that fit was queer, right? I didn't know how else to express who I was. And I think that's the thing that feels most real to me. I'm like currently dating a woman, and I've dated men, and I still.
Is this your first woman that you've been?
This is my first serious relationship with a woman. Yeah.
She knocked a couple of them down, but this is the first one.
Man.
So we always try to give a definition just because that's what people identify. So when I look it up, so queer by definition means strange and odd. But as we look into the terms itself, it's an umbrella term for sexuality and gender minorities who are not heterosexual or not cisgender, originally meaning strange or peculiar. It means that they're against those with the same-sex desire or relationships views in the late 19th century. So queer is no longer just a strange and odd. Queer is actually defined as what the person defines it as. It's the exception. It falls under the umbrella of I match with several of these items down here that have labels, and that's what the definition is. So that's what we always try to give, just so people have a better understanding.
Because as I said, I've only known it in my little bit of time on this world. I've only known it as a slur.
People, as an insult, like cunt or something like that.
People only say it aggressively.
Yeah,
it's never like just, oh man, I'm just out here queering it up. It's always like, I was in a bar and it was these two queer. And it's like, whoa, buddy.
I don't think queering it up is a term, but it should be.
Yeah, that's what
make it a term.
That's what my business cards say. Queering it up.
Oh, nice.
Sarah Garner, queering it up.
So I don't want to move away from that so quickly, but this is your first serious relationship. How was that?
It's interesting. It's my first relationship with a woman, and I think that's really and I think that's really like it's interesting, it's weird, and it also I think our specific context, like P.S. She says hi. She loves you. She was so excited that we were hanging out tonight, and she and I were best friends for 4 years before we ever got together, and so it is like a weird and I think the weird thing, of course this would happen because part of how I figured out that I liked women was I just kind of fell in love with a bunch of best friends throughout my like teenage and college years. And I was like, I just thought that that's what all girls did, that they just like had a weird attachment to their best friend that was like kind of sexual, but like not really. And like, I'm in love with you, but like maybe I'm not. And is this okay? But also I'm still fucking this dude and like all this weird, complicated stuff. And so I think that's when I started to like explore, oh, this is actually maybe more than just like my pal. Like I heard that other girls like don't feel that way about their girl best friends. And so of course my first relationship with a woman would be in the context of like we were best friends for years. And then now here we are.
I think that even adds a different dynamic to the whole idea of this relationship because going into it as a friend is always much better than going into it hot.
I'm going to disagree.
Yeah.
Really?
I think that adds an aspect of danger to it. Because
you can
me and my exes are not on the best terms, but me and my friends are. So now you're in a relationship with your best friend. What happens when it's time to exit? Or not saying that you will, but what happens when you're ready to exit? Now you're jeopardizing that friendship compared to just being able to walk away from a relationship.
I do. I can see that because with my last ex, after we broke up mutually, which when anyone says mutually,
she broke up with him.
It's
just so we all know the factual.
He's still
never
crying
quite mutual.
She's like, we breaking up. He was like, okay.
Because you got to think about it. It's always someone has to bring it up first.
Yeah.
It's never like, let's mutually just get together and be a thing. It's always like, I think we should break up. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea.
I was going to say that same thing. Wow, you just took the words out of my mouth. How'd you know?
Oh, these flowers? Nah,
I'm not going to cry about this later.
No, this. I mean, it's only our anniversary, but no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So my mother just started to like you, but okay, cool, it's fine. But she was like, all right, let's just be friends, and I was like, I cannot be friends with you.
It's not the same anymore
now because it's different. I don't want to hear about you fucking someone else. And it's not that I think that she shouldn't go out and be free. Yeah. And it's no possession over. It's just like I don't want to. When I think of friends, I think of us being open and free. Like if I call you and you're like, man, I'm just about to suck my man's dick. You know what? Lose my number.
I don't know who does that with their friends. I'm about to suck this man's dick.
I have a bunch of homegirls that do that with me.
I have a homegirl.
I don't know what it is about me, but I'm sexually
You're
free, so a lot of people feel very sexually free with me. But
no, I have a homie. I've called him in the middle of sex. He's called me in the middle of sex, and we've both answered. Not the best in our younger years.
What's up, Jerome? How you doing, man?
I'm almost there. How are you?
You got to call twice for me to answer during
sex. And here's the thing. It wasn't like we had a business together. So where it would make sense like, hey, the stock is dropping. We should probably have an emergency meeting. It was never. It was just like, yo, man, I just bought Madden. It's like, dope, man. What you doing? I'm just having sex.
Yeah. Now, if you get off the phone shortly after that, if you like, oh, I'm having sex, and you like, oh, okay, take care of your business. If he just like, yo, who is it? Well, see, look at it. That's a different.
Take a picture.
Yeah, exactly. Send me a. Yeah, exactly.
It becomes that him trying to FaceTime now. It's like, nope.
No, that's when you don't answer. That's when you don't answer.
You are. This is bad enough.
Yeah.
I'm already on a goddamn air mattress. I'm already below the curve.
Yeah.
Don't make it worse.
But I think there is a bit of possessiveness. So like when you say you don't want to hear about her sucking a dick, and let's just say have sex. Let's just bring it.
Yeah.
More conversation.
It's a bit aggressive.
All right. So you don't. But if you guys were friends and you guys hadn't had the relationship, it wouldn't be a bother.
No, it wouldn't. It's just knowing. It's still those, and I think it's probably just still having like
feelings for her.
Feelings, right? Well, it's just because those feelings aren't the same. I'm not still in love or anything of that nature. It's just more so like I still care about you. I still want the best for you. So I don't want to hear that you may be making a bad decision. And also, I know it's not my place to even tell you that this may, like, I remember when she had told me, because we tried the friend thing out, and she had told me, like, yeah, you know, I just met this guy. He's very, like, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't make that decision. You know what I mean? And she went on and did it, which her right, she's not wrong by any means, but I was just like, yeah, I don't want to be complicit to this. It's like the same reason I don't buy cigarettes for my mother. I don't want to be complicit if she ever get cancer. I don't want to be like, oh, you know what? If I didn't do this, she would.
That one pack ain't had nothing to do with her having cancer.
Yeah.
Just for the
But if you do it for a long time.
It was the 27 years of smoking is what caused it. Just so you feel better about it.
Yeah, I still don't want to be complicit.
So if this woman had, like, let's say she finds like a lawyer or like a scientist or like a man who's doing the good stuff, owns a home, stable, kind, like, would you be okay with hearing about that?
I just know she makes bad decisions. She was with me already, so I've
Okay.
seen. I've seen
You're like, your bar is low already.
Yeah, I just don't want, like, if she's happy and things. So I think personally, like, when it comes to that friendship stuff, it's just like, I don't know if I could do it afterwards.
So let me. So could you be in a poly relationship where you're in a relationship and your girl's like, hey, I'm going on this date with this guy. Yeah. We had sex, but he was boring. Could you be in that conversation?
Yes, because we established that from the beginning. We established that these are the boundaries. These are what to do and what not to do. Once you establish those boundaries, I think, you know, whatever happens within that, it happens within that. But if I just know you and you're my homegirl and you tell me, yeah, this guy's sex was boring, that's one thing. Yeah. If we're dating or like, and supposed to be like catching feelings for each other, and you're like, yeah, man, this guy, he had the worst dick, or you know what, I've never seen a dick that big. You know what? Don't bring that information to me. That's not information. Now you got me in the mirror judging my penis. I don't want to do that. I'm too grown.
Just so you know that just size doesn't mean a lot.
Of course not.
Just because she fucks a guy with a big penis doesn't mean you don't make her squirt better or something. Just so you know.
I have zero dick and I do fine. Thank you very much.
Could you be in a poly relationship?
This is such a great conversation. I don't know. I've thought a lot about it because, like, part of me thinks like. That's like my true calling. Like I like to be connected with somebody. I like the stability. You know, part of the reason I've fallen in love with so many friends is because I like love that aspect of a relationship, right? I love that stability. Yeah. And also I'm kind of a hoe. So like there's so I don't really know, but I also get really jealous. And so I don't know how I would be able to, like, I would want to fuck around and I would want her
to be able to
not to fuck around. Ooh. And I think but that's like not a humane thing to do, right? And then I think it's also complicated when you're attracted to like multiple like genders or multiple like I think for some people it just means a lot of different things, right? I think there's like a stereotype that people who are attracted to men and women or like men and non-binary people or whatever like want to fuck everybody all at once, and that's not the case, right? Like they're plenty capable of monogamous relationships, but I think there's also some people that are like, I crave being in a poly relationship. And so I don't really know how I feel. Like I was talking to a friend who was just in a poly relationship about this like 2 nights ago. And what happened to her, she like ended up falling in love with the other person.
Gotcha.
And you have to be accepting of that. So my last relationship was a poly mono. So I slept with other females. And at some point, she slept with other females, and then at some point, she didn't want to. She just wanted to sleep with me and other females with me, but she wouldn't date on her own originally how she was. And then it became, well, I'm not going to stop being poly because you're, and it's like, then I start feeling guilt. Although it was the arrangement that we originally set, you know, it's just like I would feel guilt, and then I would also feel the animosity and jealousy, even though it was our original terms, that, you know, when I had a partner or something like that come over and it wasn't a group play, you know, it was just an individual, then when that person would leave, then it was just like, oh, well, if I was here, why didn't you have sex with me? It's just because I wanted to have sex with other people. That's the whole point of being poly. So that poly mono relationships can work, but it has to be a voluntary choice. Like she originally was dating other women, just no other men, and then chose to just be mono. It wasn't my choice for her to just be mono. So then it became a uncomfortable and a jealousy situation. Not what I originally signed up for, but it was kind of cool to be like, yeah, I'm fucking all these people, and she at the crib waiting on me. You know, at first it was like, that's cool,
like an ego trip.
Yeah, it was an ego trip,
sure
and then when that wore off, it was like I'll start feeling bad because I'm out enjoying myself, and I feel like she's home just waiting for me, and then I felt bad, and then I, you know, especially when I bring people home. And I'm like, hey, hi, this is my girlfriend here. We're going to go in here and, you know, and then it's just like, she was okay with it. And most of the girls are just like, you sure she okay? I'm like, yeah, we talked about it, you know, and stuff like that. But it's just like, it's a bad feeling for a poly mono, even though it seems like it would be fun.
I think it's so interesting because monogamy has been so ingrained in like our society, right? Like monogamy, and we conflate monogamy and love often in a way that I think, you know, works for a lot of people and can also be unhealthy for a lot of people of like, if you really loved me, you wouldn't want to sleep with anybody else. And like, that's not necessarily,
that's not true.
Yeah, and that's not true, right? Like,
and just because I sleep with someone doesn't mean
I don't love you.
Or
love you any less.
I've been trying to get that off in a lot of relationships. They don't like that.
Well, see, so
they did
for
not
me
like
personally,
that.
I was a relationship person. So I was married young, and then I was in like an almost 13-year relationship. And it's like I kept trying to be a hoe, but I kept on meeting good women like, oh, I don't want to let this good woman go. And so it took me a while to be like, I'm going to stand firm on that I like having sex with new people. And then you meet people, and it's just like, well, you're going to lose me if you keep this up. And I'm like, I had to get to the point where I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to lose you. Because this is where I'm at and this is what makes me happy. So that's a hard thing to take, is like you feel like I'm going to miss out on this person, but if it's the person for you, you can't miss out on them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do believe in like you have to have some kind of stability in a relationship, and I think a lot of times people view monogamy as stability, right? Because it's one thing.
Good point.
And it's like it's not, your stability is different. There are people that can walk on tight ropes, and there's people who can barely walk on the ground, right? Your balance is your balance. It doesn't matter. It's what you make it. I'm only getting to the place where I'm like, you know what? I would like to try monogamy one last time. Like, I just want to see if it's for me.
I also
because
I've
never also, and I also never done it correctly. I've always either stepped out or she stepped out on me, and it was never done. So I just want to give it the good old college try before I go, you know what? Polygamy is more my thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
That, I mean, I would say too, like, polyamory is such, I think in the straight world, monogamy is like tenet number one, right? Like so many like straight couples like would not
comes up
even entertain. Totally, right? And then like I think in the queer community, I think one thing that's like nice and refreshing about it, and I think a lot of poly people tend to identify as queer, not even just like multiple genders, but just like our relationship does not fit within the confines of like what society has deemed as an acceptable relationship for whatever reason, right? And so in the thing that I love about the queer community is that it has made some of those things much more acceptable in my mind, in my life. Has made me more open. Like my parents got divorced because of infidelity. Like there are scars that a lot of people carry because of those things. It breaks families apart. And so I think one thing that I'm grateful to the queer community for is that it's like kind of rewritten that story in my head, right? Of like, there are actually healthy ways to do this. And like, you know?
I've never looked at it in that way, mainly because I'm not in that community, but wow. I do hear a lot. I think I heard like polyamory and that thing initially from a queer person or I don't know what they were, so I don't want to add a label, but they were definitely
one of us.
They were on your team,
on our side.
Yeah, they were on your side. So I just think whatever works for you, and I think a lot of people have this messed up thought where it's like, we have to confine to what society says we should. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. You got to make it happen for you. And your story is your story. You write your own story. Not everybody's going to have that notebook love story, right? Where it's like, oh, I loved you and you went away and absence made the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, you came back. Some people is like, you go away and, you know, I forgot about you.
I'm
You know
fucking
what I mean?
somebody the next week. Yeah.
So it's like, it's so cool and refreshing to see people doing those things and creating their own spaces. And you actually, on another podcast that I had with you.
Doing the tour.
Yeah, you're doing the tour. And you said something that I never quite heard before in terms of space and creating your own thing. He was like, yeah, no, me and my significant other, we have space. Like, I have my own space. She has her own space. And how do you feel that's able to help you within your relationship? How does that make it stronger?
Oh, totally. And I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this and like what you've done in your relationships too, like having done polyamory and everything. But we have separate bedrooms when we live together, and we have separate bedrooms. And that's another thing of like straights are like, what?
You know, like, that threw me off when you first said it. I was like,
people don't
what
do
in
it.
the Lucy?
Yeah, and
I love Lucy is this.
Right? And my queer friends are like, oh yeah, duh, of course you have separate bedrooms. Like you need your own space. And it's just, I don't know. I think we tend to, again, in our modern thinking, well, it's not so modern thinking about relationships. We tend to have this idea that your relationship is supposed to like be all encompassing. And it's like, especially I think for women, it often becomes your identity, right? Like whether you're married or not is like your identity. You know, you change your fucking last name when you get married as a woman often. And so like your relationship status is your identity. And I've just never been comfortable with that. And there's something that's really nice about like we have separate bedrooms. Like we didn't see each other like all day because I was in my room working and she was in her room working, and then like we'll see each other when we get home, and it'll be really nice because it's not like
it'll be pleasant.
It's gonna be like, oh, I missed you today. Like that's so great. I'm also an insomniac, so there's some like practical reasons.
That makes sense.
She's like, I cannot sleep in the same bed as you. I'll kill you
because you don't sleep.
My last relationship, we had 2 separate rooms, and originally it was, I mean, you know, because she had, you know, dates, you know, with women, and I had dates with women. So sometimes I wasn't included on the fun. I mean, most of the time I was, but I mean, I always respect, you know, sometimes it was a woman that was like, no, I don't want any guy to watch, or I don't want, and I mean, you got to respect that. And the same thing with, you know, so we had separate bedrooms. When it became a mono for her, it became a kind of like a violation of my space. I want to sleep in your room, or why don't you want to be, you know, why don't you want me in your room? Yeah. And then it became like she had a rejection feel because I didn't want her in my space. But when it was originally how the contract that we originally wrote out, because I'm big on contracts.
Yeah.
When we originally wrote out the contract, it was originally you slept in your space, I slept in my space, unless we were having a night and then we slept together or whatever. I like the idea of separate bedrooms. Yeah. Just because one, I like it cold as shit in my room, you know, and everybody doesn't like that. That makes some people uncomfortable. I like white noise when I go to sleep. I like the TV playing.
So how do you feel about the idea, and I'll say my feelings, but how do you feel about the idea of like finding your match, all right? Because that would eliminate all of that. If you found another zombie at the way society says, that would solve that problem, because both of you are the same. So now both of you can stay in the same space. If you found someone that understood, like, you know what, I'm gonna go off over here, because he needs Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I gotta leave Will alone, and like you find your match. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I agree that people can compromise, right? If I found a girl, I'd be scared. I genuinely be like, oh, this is crazy. But yeah, I believe that people can compromise. Yes, I might find someone who likes it cold and who likes to listen to TV at the same time or whatever. But think of all of the amazing people that I would pass up looking for someone that matches me. Yeah, when this person might match me just fine. They just like to be hot when they sleep. Yeah. You know, so I don't want to pass up amazing people looking for some mystical unicorn that might not exist.
I don't like those odds either, you know?
Yeah, because you're looking for needle in a haystack.
Yeah, it's not great odds. And also, I just, like, you've never seen me fall asleep, but it is not a good like
violent.
there's like twitching and like movement. I swear to God, we tried to take a nap together like Sunday, and she was like, I can't be in here with you. Like the cats even staged a coup. Like it didn't go well. I'm not great at falling asleep.
I see. You know what? Me personally, the separate bedroom thing that's new for me. That's a new concept. Like I said, you recently put me onto that, and I knew you guys were doing that, but I thought being that you guys were in the kind of poly thing, I figured it was for that reason specifically. Whereas they're more monogamous, and she was just like, deuces, I'm over here, you over there.
More closet space also, which is a plus for everyone.
Yes. So for me, I don't know if I could. At this very juncture right now, at this place I am in my life, I'm like, maybe, but also I've never lived with someone, so I don't even know if I'm gonna really need this. I know I don't like sleeping with someone. Mm-hmm. I know personally I don't like. I'm a big dude. I like room, and particularly the women that I attract to or they attract to me. They like being under me, and I'm like, I need space. I like it cold as well. They want it hot. Man. And then if it's too cold, then they take all the covers. They don't understand that, hey, I like it cold. I don't want to be in Antarctica. I want to be, cozy. And they're like, no, but it's too cold, so I need every cover.
And I can tell you some cheap moves on that. One, get an electric blanket. That's a winner. The electric blanket goes on her, separate from the rest of the covers. She can control the temperature. You get the ones that don't burn up your bed, so they go off after a certain amount of time. Electric blankets. And they're heavy and they're weighted.
Oh, we love a weighted blanket for us anxious folks.
I'm very aware.
Oh, yeah. I like
that was a good tip.
I feel like we knew each other in another life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like you get me.
Yeah, agree.
You're like, I saw you having a panic attack.
Agreed.
So going back to your to what you said about this being your first relationship with a real relationship with a woman, do you think that it's a phase, or do you think that this is what it's always been and you finally got the opportunity to do it? Because I hear a lot of people say that there's such thing as gay phase. I've heard that recently, and I was like, what is a gay phase? It's like, you gay for like a week, and I'm like, I don't think you could just tap in and tap out. Like you got to commit. You can't be crip for a week. You can't just be like, hey, no, I like blue.
Rappers do it all the time.
No. To be fair, you can only be, I guess, crip for a week if you're paying.
I think that people try to call anything outside of the heteronormative belief about a relationship as like a phase. I think, right? Like, I think that's how, right? Like, how do you keep people within a power structure? You teach them that like any deviance is wrong, right?
Agreed.
And so I don't. And also, I'm 33, so I'm like a little old for college here. Like pussy licking, you know what I mean? Like that feels like a little. I'm past that, you know what I mean? I'm older, I'm wiser. Come on, I think. I don't know. I think we often use that to like kind of negate people's experiences, like and I think especially I see it like with bisexual women. I think bisexual men or men that do anything that's not heteronormative, we negate their experience by saying like, oh, you're just gay, and you're like, you just want to be gay, and now you're when like that's not necessarily the case. And I think we negate women's experiences by saying like, oh, it's just a phase, you're gonna grow out of it, and you're gonna marry a man like you're supposed to, because that's your life's empty without one. Yeah, exactly.
What the people who made up the Bible wrote down that you're supposed to.
That's what they said.
Exactly. The men that sat around and made up the Bible.
Exactly. Deuteronomy, it's right in there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Leviticus.
Leviticus is pretty. Doesn't love our kind, that's for sure.
and that's a good point. That's a really good point.
What do you think the reason we see those? Because I can admit, even growing up, and I'm trying. I think I've changed, and I think theater school helped that for sure. But you did look at bisexual men as a difference than bisexual women. Why do you think that is?
I mean, not to get too like Judith Butler on you guys, but like I don't think it's like a I think we view things through like men, right? Like that's kind of the way. I mean, we view things through wealthy white men.
The people who wrote down history.
Yeah. Exactly, like the people who have power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we see sexuality through that lens of like what men tend to be afraid of is like their own feelings of homosexuality in any way, like whether it's bisexuality, whatever. And then I think they view women, and so they view that person as like, oh, he's gay, like not a threat, right? I'm not that way because I'm not gay. And then they can view women, they can negate that experience by saying it's a phase because they find that desirable, right?
Gotcha.
And so then they can be like, oh, but don't worry, like I think this is hot, but don't worry, one day I'll be able to get with you again. You know what I mean? It's like
I'm waiting.
Like
wait it out.
One day you're gonna come right back to me because I'm
Ain't
better.
like
you know?
When you made the statement of where you belong, that's so interesting because that's always been the mindset. Like even when they did gay marriages, these straight men had these big uproars. Like I don't live in you guys' house and I don't sleep in your bedroom, but I should be able to determine what you guys do. What kind of overreaching governmental weird issues? And the same thing with religion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. It was pastors saying that we're not going to marry you guys because of what you have under your clothes.
Hell, it was
weird.
It was even deeper than that, where it was people that wasn't even going to make cakes. Like,
we're not going to make a cake for a gay wedding. And
like you had people that went like, I don't make gay cakes. What the hell is a gay cake?
That's
delicious.
An interesting terminology. Yeah.
First of all, if anything, a gay cake is probably colorful. It's great.
Oh,
it's probably
delicious.
Delicious.
It's probably
Exactly.
the most delicious cake.
Yeah, it's filled
Skittles.
with sugar.
Yeah, 100% getting diabetes.
And so let me ask you this. So when you say bisexual women compared to bisexual men, a lot of times people don't give men the credit to say that men are bisexual.
Yeah.
It's just that if a man takes a dick, automatically he's gay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that growing up. Now I'm more along the lines of, hey man, you 6 dicks in. You just got to accept who you are.
But bisexual just means that you have sex with both sexes.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So a man can be bisexual if he's having sex with men and sex with women. Gay, it means that, or it means that you're having sex with the exact same. So by definition, a guy can be bisexual. But why is it the social norm that we don't say that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know what I was kind of trying to say was like, I know a lot of men who are a certain way or like that, or try to go, oh, well, I'm just testing it out. I'm just doing this. And they do that so it's palatable for straight men to accept. Like, oh, man, you was in college once.
Well, I mean, the sad part is they have to seek acceptance from that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes that thing where it's just like, oh, who the fuck cares if you can be bisexual if you are into that. Man, live your free life. Don't worry about, like, you put it, it's all through a men's lens. So it's like, don't look at that through that lens. I personally don't no longer. I mean, I can't sit here and lie and say I grew up in a certain environment where that's what it was. Yeah. It's like, yo, you touched a dick, you graze someone's dick, they go, oh, you out here gay. You like, he was like, man, I was walking by, my hand swung, I didn't reach out and grab it. There's nothing like, but you like, yo, that's the gayest shit I ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, relax. And it's demonized mostly.
Where does that fear, because I think it comes from like a fear place, right? Like where does that fear
of being
come from?
The older men generation. So, which is so weird because if you look at the old, like Italy, there's all these pictures of naked little boys and grown men. But if it's 2 men, it's weird. But apparently they like little boys, and just for the record. But it's for you to be condemning people. That's just, y'all whole
for
art
those
is
keeping
about
track.
you and little boys. But so it's from older men. So like as growing up, like it's like a lot of older men take it as a personal dig on themselves. If their son is not a womanizer or gets married or have kids, so they take it as they come with this whole bravado of that it's not accepted and it's not tolerated because of their insecurities, because their parents put it in them, and there has been, and that's what I love about this podcast, there has been ignorance. Passed from generation, and that includes racism, that includes sexism. There has been ignorance passed from generation to generation to generation. And hopefully this is the first generation to say, keep your ignorant thoughts to yourself and let us create our own.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's the ignorance that's passed down that's made people pass judgment on people that they don't even know.
Yeah.
I think it started with, if I had to put actual thing, I think you're 100% correct, by the way, but I think it started with like the Bible and stuff, because it was a different time and everything was more referred to. We live like this. This is how we're supposed to live. So you grow these views and ideals off of that, and the more time passes, the less and less people are more, I guess, Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
So people.
Well, it depends on your region too.
Sure.
Because in
sure,
the
sure.
South, Midwest,
Midwest, yeah.
they don't play like that. Yeah.
Oh, it's still deep. It
Yeah.
depends where.
Yeah.
But like, think about how that's now associated there. Whereas I'm sure if you go back maybe 1,000 years, everywhere was Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
You like, dog, this is New York City, man. He's like, nah, man, this is how it is here.
But if you think about the Bible, I just always had this question for women. So the Bible obviously was written by men.
Doesn't love us.
And exactly, and it's the way the Bible makes it seems that man was perfect until they made woman.
Yeah.
Right? The man made no mistakes whatsoever, and the only mistake that was made is because a woman enticed it. That's how you know it's written by men. the only mistake that
you entice me, witch.
We full of mistakes as
We're
men.
still doing it.
Yeah.
6,000 years later, baby.
Yeah, exactly. how does that make you feel when you're taught that and you grow up on that they're just like the man was perfect until woman came along, and the reason that y'all bleed every month is because y'all made him. And that's just
because your imperfections.
How does that make you feel as a person that they condemn women and then say men are perfect when we all know that's not true?
I mean, shitty. I'm lucky that I didn't grow up religious. And so I actually feel like I grew up in a way that I was told as like a young woman and as a girl that I could be anything, right? Like I was told, I'm 5 feet tall. I'm never going to be a basketball player. So there's like caveats.
But you can try.
But I do feel, heteronormativity, patriarchy, the white supremacist society we live in, like all of that, it's the air we breathe, right? Like you can't escape it no matter where you grow up. You could grow up in the most liberal family. I mean, we're Canadian, for God's sakes. We believe in socialized healthcare. You know what I mean? Like we're liberal, man. And but that's still the air that we breathe, right? Like the heteronormative, white supremacist, toxic patriarchy that we live in, right? And but I do feel really lucky that from a young age, my family told me that I was smart, right? And told me that I was capable, and told me that like my life wasn't necessarily just destined to get married and have kids. Like that was never my role. And my parents are divorced and my mom's still single. And I think that also informed some of my thoughts on this of like, we didn't have like a happy fairy tale marriage, and that wasn't my mom's reality. And so I kind of was like raised with this idea that you can actually accomplish things on your own. And I feel really lucky, and I feel grateful for my parents.
And growing up
they probably turned me into a fucking monster, because now maybe I think I'm too smart.
That's a good thing, though. That's a really good thing.
But I feel really lucky that I had that growing up.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
And
upbringing.
One thing I as we're kind of talking about this too, I think like another thing that I think about is I'm looking at, maybe it's just because I got on TikTok for the first time, but I'm looking at like the generation below. Like we're in our 30s, and like you're close, sweetie. Like we'll take you. And I think the younger generation, like people who are like 10 years younger than us, even. It's so different how they think about, certainly about gender and sexuality. And I think about power structures in general, right? Like I think for whatever it is, like the younger generation is like questioning traditional power structures in a way that like I, growing up in small town Ohio, like never
looked at it.
Never looked at until I like moved to Chicago, until I like encountered,
different.
I grew up in a pretty homogenous community, right? And like I never had the space to encounter those. And now I look at kids, and I don't know how it's happened. I don't know what the phenomenon is, but there's just like more acceptance, and there's more like respect for
I agree.
other points of view. I
heard a kid say everybody at my school is bisexual. I heard that comment and I was just like, wow.
Great.
Yeah.
That's how the world actually is, in my opinion. But
so in your mind, everybody has a tad bit of bisexuality in them.
Like it's a spectrum.
Yeah,
type
I think
thing?
there's a spectrum.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. That people think is a spectrum, and it's not just like an on-off switch. And I think it's closer to a spectrum than that. I don't think you can just like you're either all in or you're not. I think it's some people that's like they may dibble or dabble, they may have the thoughts or whatever the case may be.
Have you ever found a man handsome?
Not in the capacity of I wanted sexual relations, but I'm man enough to look at someone and be like, that's attractive, dude.
Yeah.
And it doesn't like affect me, but like I'm not looking at him like that's attractive, dude.
Bridgerton. Wait till he takes his shirt off in Bridgerton. You might
Like
think
that
differently.
dude, yeah. Like the Duke in Bridgerton. I can look at him
Feast.
and go like, you know what? I don't want him around my girlfriend. I can see that, right? Yeah. But I see that he's an attractive guy, and I think a lot of times what we have to break down, especially as men, is that ability to compliment each other and just
Agreed.
those simple things. Because it's like
Very
you
much
can
agreed.
just say, even how we compliment each other, like, oh man, looking good, man, like your jeans is nice, man. And it's like, why can't you just say, man, you look cool today, you look handsome today, right? Like, why is saying that now associated with he trying to fuck me?
Yeah, we have to put a whole tag of no.
Yeah.
To me, no homo is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. You know, that's like
I was over that when I was 14. I grew up in New York. This is a New York thing.
Yeah, that's just first of all, saying you're not gay does not make you not gay. So that has no validity to it whatsoever. You know,
27 years of that.
Fair, very fair. So it's just like for me, I have friends who, you know, I didn't feel comfortable complimenting them younger. And it took me hearing like their depression or them feeling like they're unattractive and things like that before I had to just come out of my shell to be like, nah, you a handsome dude. You got a good job. You got a lot going. And from somebody from the outside that hear it would think that I'm trying to talk to this guy, you know, whatever. But it's just like, I could not sit by and let my friends not know how valuable or how attractive they were.
Especially with people being depressed.
Exactly. And it's like, all I had to do was just learn to be uncomfortable. And it's only uncomfortable for the first couple of times. The first couple of times you say it, it's like you say it and you don't know how a person will receive it. So when you're trying to cheer somebody up and you're telling them good things about themselves, you're just like, if somebody hears this, it sounds weird. Or maybe they're just like, hey, don't talk to me, you know. But it's like, once you get comfortable, for me, it's about being comfortable as a male. Like as a male, when you're comfortable, like if I was an actor and they were like, hey, I want you to put on these ballerina tights for this role, I'd be like, sure. Because I'm comfortable in who I am as a person.
And you have amazing calves, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been working hard on them. Yeah.
I've had, as an actor and going through that, I remember once I was sitting by the SGA and they asked me the question because most people weren't actors. It was a group of everyone, mishmash of different majors. And it was like, yo, would you ever kiss a dude? Right? And now everybody like, well, will you? And I'm like, do I like the role? Like I'm asking if this is a role I believe in, am I just gonna walk around and kiss a dude? Nah, man. But is it a role? If it's a role that I believe in, and they was like, bro, that's gay. You gon'. And then one person said, you're gonna compromise yourself to kiss a dude for a little bit of money. And I said, no, I'm gonna compromise myself for a lot of money. That's the difference. No, but I was like, I'm not compromising myself. It's for the art. But it was just so insane to me that people thought that, you know, doing this art, this is art. This is through the lens of this. Realize even if I'm having a sex scene with a guy, I'm not actually having sex with that guy. Afterwards, he's probably going to go home to his wife. I'm going to go do what I got to do.
If he goes home to his male lover, does that make the sex scene different for you?
No. I mean, is he trying to hit on me? Now, if he's objectifying me throughout the sex scene.
Straight men honestly don't get objectified very much.
They really don't.
But if this is my one time.
Except Bridgerton guy.
If this is my one time, then you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be like, hey, bro.
Yeah. It's about boundaries.
Yeah. But like, I don't think it's art, man.
I thought, like, it's also just such an interesting point. Like, when you guys were talking about, even in the context of friendship, like, I think that the way that we see like male relationships as friendships is so harmful, right? Like this homophobia, the homophobia is so like scary and bad that you're going to deny like being able to tell your friend that you love and who is like struggling, that they're like okay and that you love them and that you're like there for them. And I see that like happen so often in male relationships. And I think that's like why so many men are depressed and like sad and feel alone.
And it takes a while. Like when I first started complimenting my friends or whatever, it took a while. So yesterday, just so happened I had a conversation with a friend back home who had an ex-girlfriend who used him, and then she moved out and she moved in with another guy, and she's like, hey, I don't like this other guy. I want to come sleep on your couch because he's not treating me right. And my friend back home, he's just like, well, I've been depressed, and I'm gonna let her sleep here because I haven't really met. And it's just like, I'm so comfortable now that I gave him affirmations. You were a handsome guy. You got a lot going on for you, man. You've been losing weight. You know what I'm saying? You looking better. You dressing better. And it's just like the compliments that I gave him. He was just like, when he told me, he was like, I should have called you a long time ago because I've been sitting over here depressed because I didn't want to tell anybody how I genuinely felt. And I felt horrible because as a friend, you should feel comfortable to be able to reach out to another friend and be like, look, I'm down and this is why I'm down. And know that friend has your back.
I agree. I mean, as a male, I have my internal demons that I still trying to get to the place where I can just say it and just be like, yo, I have these moments where I'm insecure and things of that nature. And it's like, you should be able to go to your male friend. I think they say men kill themselves more than women. I think it is. And it's like, it's because you don't got someone complimenting your butt. If you had just one person say, yo, man, your ass look good in them jeans, you might not string yourself up. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you need is one dude to be like, yo, you got nice calves, man. Really? I've been work. That's all you need. And I think, me personally, you need that. You need that. Like, you need someone to tell you. I just started telling myself, I deserve.
Yeah.
Just that simple. Like,
explain what that means to the.
Well, for me personally, like I think we always go through life thinking we don't deserve certain things, and like even down to women, like men saying like, oh no, I could never get Rihanna. I mean, besides your financial and that you're never in a space with her, why wouldn't she like you if you were in her space? Why are you not, oh man, I'm not says who? You don't know. She might see you and be like, that's the one. And don't care about your financial thing. But just those little things, like we are so, I don't deserve, man. I don't deserve good things. And it's like, you deserve good things. So I started telling myself that because I believe that. And I started to see how it was affecting my art and affecting my work and affecting me as a person. And I'm like, I don't want to be a person who doesn't feel as though I deserve certain things. We all deserve good things. We all are entitled by just living, waking up. You are entitled to some good and some bad. That's the yin and yang of life. You're entitled. You're gonna have bad, but you're gonna have good, and you deserve that good. I would get auditions. I would get good things, win comedy competitions, get in festivals, all kinds of shit, and be like, I guess I got lucky. And it's like, a piece of it is luck, but a piece of it is I put myself in a position. I worked hard. I did that. There was a lot of lonely nights sitting in the room working on this joke. It was a lot of lonely nights sitting in this room working on this monologue, working on this thing. And it's like, the fact that I'm getting certain things is like, I didn't even understand or accept those things. And I also didn't even have anyone to go to and be like, you know what, man, I just need to encourage. I just need someone to tell me that I deserve. And
it's okay. So as men, we don't do that. And it's okay as men to say you need help. It's okay as and I'll tie this back to sex to make those people listening feel better, whatever. But it's okay. It's okay to say that you need help. It's okay to say that you're not right. That makes you no less of a man whatsoever to say that you need. And if the more that you can become in touch with yourself, the more of a man you actually become.
And that affects you sexually as well.
Yeah, confidence is sexually, when it comes to confidence, like you can take a fat guy that wears a midriff with his belly button out, that type of confidence. You know what I'm saying? It's just
I've seen it.
And people would find that attractive because he knows what he looks like, he knows what he has, but he's confident and he loves himself. That is sexy.
Yeah. It's something about like the like radical notion of like, oh, I deserve love, right? Like I think, you know, I see so many people who like give so much love, right? And I'd say like both of you are people like you, Chris, have always been so supportive of me. I've always felt like a lot of love and support from you. Yeah. And like there's something that like makes it so hard for us to then turn that inward of like, oh, do I deserve that same amount of like care and love and kindness that I've been giving out in the world, right? And I think men do struggle a lot with like that feeling of like, no, I just deserve like a genuine, there's something like, it always has to be kind of like focused on power, right? Where instead it like can just be like, no, you just deserve like someone to love you. It's
an ongoing joke, and the people who know about me not making good decisions with where I put my penis. Yeah. Right?
I've heard this.
Yeah.
It's been an ongoing joke.
A lot of people know this. Friends at home.
And basically, I think it started with the whole not deserving, feeling like I didn't deserve. Because I remember I showed someone who's been on this podcast before. Her name is Shiv. I showed her. I said,
"Shout out Shiv."
I said, "Look, this is the type of people I'm with." And she said, "Oh, baby, you don't love yourself."
It's true.
And I was just like, maybe I don't. Yeah. It's like, and I think a piece of it was feeling like, you know what, this is what I deserve. And there's nothing wrong with those women in particular, but it's just like knowing where you are. There's no reason a grown man with a job, with certain things, pursuing a dream, I shouldn't still be sleeping on an air mattress. I deserve better. I shouldn't have roaches.
You deserve a headboard, sweetie.
Yeah, you do.
Well, that's the...
A frame, yeah, you do. A Sealy mattress, yeah.
The actual issue now is a headboard. The headboard thing
You're going to get back problems, for God's sake.
Exactly.
At the very least.
I don't sleep on an air mattress. I said it like twice, too. People going to be like, yo.
For viewers at home,
Ladies,
he's saying that he has an actual bed.
I haven't seen it yet, though, so I cannot verify this independently.
But I have not either.
But I don't have a headboard because I don't. Just don't. But it comes to that sexually, and I think a lot of people, when you think of sex and you think of these things, and it's like, what do you want out of it? Like, what are your goals? What are the things? And I think for me personally, one of my goals, my sexual goals, was, stepping my taste up. I'm tired of getting the $5 moonshine. I think I'm ready for some decent, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like I think I deserve a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
I think I deserve that. There's nothing wrong with having that, but it's a problem with not feeling like you deserve more.
It's settling.
It's settling.
You brought up two valid points. One, that when you settle, it's settling. So when you say you deserve better, it's a lot of times people settle because it's comfortable, and they feel like, well, this is as good as I'm going to get, or I should appreciate this because this is as good as and that puts people in loveless relationships, and it's bad for both people, which makes it toxic because you don't actually want to be with that person. You're just scared to leave that person, to venture out and be alone, to find someone better.
True.
So so don't settle and believe that you deserve the whole fucking world plus a cherry on top.
Yeah.
Don't ever think of life as that you have to accept it. Life is about not accepting what you're giving and telling the world, this is what I want. This is what I'm putting my energy. I'm speaking it to the universe, and it's going to give it to me.
Yeah.
That was the first point. The second point, you brought up sexual goals. I think it's important that everyone has sexual goals. Don't just be out there aimlessly. I'm just fucking for 30 years. Have
still
a goal.
handing out 8th grade dick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't still hand out 8th grade dick. Get better at whatever you're doing, but have a goal. Everybody should have this is what I want to accomplish within myself sexually. So what would be your sexual goal?
My sexual goal? I don't know.
And that's okay.
That's a really good question. I've actually never thought about that because I think traditionally, and I think one of the things that I struggle with about my sexuality is like how harmfully I've used sex in the past, right? As like a way to feel, because I like didn't like myself, and I think when I like didn't know I was queer, or like I knew but I like hadn't figured it out, which was like a long saga. Like there's like an idea of like you use sex as like a power thing, or like you use sex because you like hate yourself and you're like, this will make me feel something, right? Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna feel good, but I'm gonna feel something. Yeah. And so I actually don't know, you know,
which is fine. I think it's fine to not know, but it is something that you should think about actively. Exactly. Like for instance, we've examined our sexual goals and we've discovered that Will just wants a sex cult. That's where he's at.
For you.
To be clear,
what a journey.
He keeps saying sex community.
Yeah.
So
he's Mormon.
It's
now.
a journey.
It's
I
a
love
journey.
it. I'm here.
And so I've been very fortunate to meet a group of adult women who, you know, we've had these conversations where she's like, I like her and I like her. And, you know, it becomes a bond where they go out on dates, you know, without me. We all go out on dates together, you know, and it becomes like a family type situation like that. So for us, it's been fun. It's been a journey. And I mean, people come in and they're just like, hey, I met this guy that I really like. I'm going to go date him for a while, you know, and it's just like, to me, when you hit your 30s, it's a different way with relationships. You know, we have this whole way that we're taught, and I'm all about contracts. So if we're going to have sex, it's going to be mutually beneficial to both of us. What is it that you want from me? And what is it that I want from you? And if that agrees along the same lines, then hey, well, I've met a lot of people who are like, hey, I wanted to be with a woman, but I still like men, or I want to be with a woman with a man. And so we're gonna all go out. We're gonna get drinks. You guys are gonna be together. I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna wait to be called in. I'm not gonna run in like, hey, you guys need a man, because you don't. I'm gonna let you guys interact, and if you decide to bring me in, then I'm flattered, you know, and that type thing. So for me, I've had a lot of people that have trusted me to but be a part of their situation. So my sex cult is what he's calling it. It's a group of sexual free adult people who feel comfortable having sex with each other, sharing finances, sharing stock tips, sharing professions. Hey, you're a teacher. Hey, I'm an IT person. Let me IT your teacher meetings. Hey, why don't you help me train the people in? So it's a group of adult people working together, but it's not that whole sexual, are you guys fucking? No, we're all fucking. And that's, you know, and no one is keeping secrets, and everyone is very honest, and everyone is safe, and that's how, so that's my, at this point, now it might change. I might meet one of the people in my cult, as he calls it, and I'm just like, hey, I just want to do this with her. Yeah. I feel like that's the freedom. That's why I don't believe in titles. The freedom of non-titles is like, this is what I'm doing now. So if I decide to change that, or someone helps me change that, then great. But right now, what I'm doing is being sexually free with other adults, other consenting adults that we've wrote out contracts to say, this is what I kind of want. This is what you kind of want. If it goes outside of this contract, we have to discuss it.
Yeah. As long as you're not pulling some Keith Raniere Nexus.
No, he's more
bullshit.
David Koresh.
I'm from Texas, you know. You know, David Koresh was
he's Waco.
Shout out Waco, Texas.
He's more of a Waco.
Hey, those girls were like 16, so maybe not that line.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, shoot. I just realized
all of my consenting adults are actually in their 30s.
Okay, all right,
maybe not David Koresh.
I don't even bring 20s into it.
Maybe not David Koresh.
Only 30s.
Do you give him Kool-Aid? You more Jim Jones?
No, okay. Here, so your sex cult sounds like it's just a fun sex cult, right? There's no group suicide.
Agreed.
There's no branding.
Agreed.
There's no children.
Nope.
Like, great.
Yes.
I love it. Sign me up.
Yeah.
You know? And then if, you know, write it in the contract. Just make sure you put those pieces in the contract, and I think you're good.
Great.
I've often told him that, although I make fun of him for having a sex cult, I've often told him that I want to be a feature player. I just want to come through sometimes
for weekends.
Yeah,
weekend trip.
Spend a weekend in Aspen.
We're gonna pack her over an 8-bag. Hang in there.
Yeah, well, I just want to see how it works, and that may mean me just going, this is good here.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to think about your sexual goals and think about things that you want to achieve within the sexual space, because sex doesn't stop when you get older. It only gets better, right? It is like wine
Right,
because
don't believe that.
it gets better.
Ain't nobody.
It gets better.
What did Warren Buffett say? He said you shouldn't hold sex until you're old. He's like, it's just not a good thing to do. Yeah.
Listen, I just think it gets better because your mind gets better. Your mind gets
freer.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's nothing like 18 and 21-year-old sex where you fuck for 4 hours and all you need is a sip of water and go right back to it. In your 30s, you get cramps.
Excuse
and
me?
you want to take a break.
Excuse me, sir?
Yeah.
4 hours? At 21, you started off high. You started off in the
that was my Seagram Gin days.
I'm a distance runner, so you know.
Oh,
yeah, no, I'm fine with that too, but I had to work my way up to that. I didn't start off. You know what I mean? I started off as a sprinter.
The short distance.
Yeah. And I got good
Speed, not form.
Exactly. And I got good at that. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do a little hurdles.
Yeah.
I'll spice it up.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now where I'm cross country. And
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Yeah,
Pacing
it's fine.
yourself.
Yeah, I do what I gotta do because
Yeah.
I don't want my back to hurt. I played a lot of sports growing
Yeah.
up, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the person who's played sports, didn't really get injured, and then get a sex injury.
And the
Your first real injury, you broke your clavicle because you was trying to eat pussy in a handstand. Don't be that person.
What is your best sex injury?
I've caught a cramp. Oh, I think the wildest one was I think I almost burnt my dick off. Not with fire, but it was a dumb idea. I was young. So I was with a lovely lady. When I say young, this was like a couple years ago.
Early this week.
Last week, actually. So I actually
saw you limping earlier.
So actually, I never even spoke. So I was with my ex actually, and I noticed we would always get Chinese food. Well, we didn't always, but we got Chinese food from time to time, and she enjoyed spicy mustard.
Okay.
So I said, you know, it'd be sexy if I put spicy mustard on my penis. I wasn't thinking about the ramifications and the consequences of said behavior, but I gave it my best try, and I thought it'd be like a sexy thing. She was allergic to strawberries, which is like an intimate fruit. You know what I mean? I've tried to put a strawberry.
I don't think any fruit is intimate in my
but
opinion.
They make it intimate.
Okay.
They make that.
Agree.
I'm not like looking at blueberries like,
Sure. But they
like,
do.
yes,
They do
baby.
seem to make the strawberry like an intimate fruit.
Yeah.
They do like, ooh,
Sexy
you dip it
time
in some
fruit.
chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was anorexic for 12 years, so no food is that sexy to me.
So yeah. So I guess my sexual goals is just not to injure myself.
That's a good.
So your
no.
sexual injury was you burnt your dick with spicy
Yeah,
mustard.
man.
That's
and
sad.
then she was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, do something. This burns.
You got to dip it in cold water.
I did a
Probably
lot
put
of
some
things.
ointment on there too.
I did a lot of things. I didn't like it. I just
Yeah.
And then she was like, why would you do that? And I was like, I was trying to be sexy for you.
Yeah.
And she's like, where was that sexy? Who looks at spicy mustard
Yeah.
from the China? And it's the way she said it was like, you had to break the package.
Yeah.
Then, which is already not a sexy thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't get it with your fingers. So now I got to tear it. Then I got to go along my penis.
Also, who likes spicy mustard that much that they want to lick it off? Like, I feel like
Yeah,
that's
really,
also
that's-
not.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe duck sauce or something? I don't know.
Just dip it in
Yeah,
sweet and
just
sour.
So fellas, just so you know, if it burns, dip
Don't
it in
do
cold water. If it itches, dip it in hot water. Just so you guys know that.
And then get some ointment.
Yeah.
Just get some
definitely get some
A&D or
ointment.
something.
And don't be me.
Yeah.
What was your sex injury?
I don't think I've ever had a sex injury, and
You need to.
like I said, I know I need to.
You gotta get
So you gotta hurt yourself
I
now.
don't know.
You got to learn.
I think I've had like tiredness, but
Okay.
I'm
Fatigue.
you know, I've I've never
Cracked up?
put anything gross on. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a distance runner, man. I'm like trained for this shit, you know?
Nice.
If you can run 6 miles in 45 minutes, you can fucking fuck for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agree.
So I don't think I've had an injury, really. Maybe.
Never tried to eat pussy on a handstand?
No, God,
Well,
no.
Mine was close to that.
Was it?
So she was hanging off the bed, and I'm hanging off the bed, and I have my hands on the ground like this. So she's upside down, and I'm on top of her with my hands like that. I'm a choker. So I raise my hand up to go to choke her. This hand loses its grip. I bust. It's wood floors. So this whole part of me hits the ground while I'm trying to choke her, and his hand slips.
Did you forget physics?
Yeah.
Like y'all, I just want to say, maybe I'm not adventurous and fun, but like, you forgot that spicy things will burn, and you forgot like the way balance works. Is that
when I had the two hands, it was working, right? The two hands were working because she was hanging off the bed.
Took your
my
foundation.
feet, my feet were this bottom half was still on the bed
Because you got good calves.
Yeah, this is still on the bed, and I mean she's leaning over, I'm on top. We have a great little seesaw thing. I thought I could hold myself with one hand, in which I probably could had I not slipped. I didn't think about the whole sweating. We were in the middle of sex. Her hair was sweating, and when it slipped, it's like I knew at that point.
Well, this has been amazing. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
I love you.
And I want the people to follow you because I want them to love you the way I love you.
Oh, well, I love you, and I love you too. We don't know each other as well, but I also now you can't get rid of me.
Good. Good. Wouldn't want to.
So give them your socials and let them know about your podcast that you got going on.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sarah Garner Meow, like a cat. And my podcast that actually just came out a few weeks ago. We're dropping our
cat sex.
The only kind of sex that also. Cat rubbing the leg during sex is awkward, so we have stories about that. But my podcast, our third episode comes out tomorrow as of us recording this, but it's called Cheers for Queers, and it's about any queer storyline that's not the one that we've always heard the same time over and over again. And so it's an exploration of gender and sexuality and all the things that come with it. So if you want to hear more rants like the ones you heard today, tune in.
It's dope, man. Please tune in. And as we always say, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for going on this journey and exploring sex with us. And if you didn't learn anything on this podcast, don't ever put spicy mustard on anything. That's the one thing you should learn.
And if you want to join Will's sex cult, contact us.
We're taking applications. There's a rigorous process. Everyone has to approve you, but we're taking applications through the summer. Send them your Instagram.
Well, you can find me at Ballspot Poppy.
Okay. And you can find me at Comedian Will IT. You can also follow the podcast at Sorry I Came Too Fast. Thank you guys for checking us out and continue to keep learning. Don't just walk around with that same knowledge. Open your mind and learn. Never stop learning.